Hello, Radiant Leo Soul. If this video has found its way to you, it's not random. It's a sacred invitation. Because this May, the universe has aligned 3 life-changing forces on your path: unexpected wealth, a soulful farewell, and a reunion with a love written in the stars. Now take a breath. Ask yourself, am I ready to receive what I once thought I had to fight for? Because that's what this month is really about. Not chasing, not proving, but remembering that you were born worthy. This is eternal mindfulness, and what you're about to experience isn't just a horoscope. It's a mirror held up to your spirit. It's a whisper from your higher self reminding you of what you already know deep down. You are not here to survive. You're here to shine. Leo, you are the light, but even light sometimes forgets it's the sun. And if lately you felt a quiet shift, like something's about to end or something beautiful is rising from within, that's not your imagination. That's destiny moving in silence. This month, the stars aren't just spinning above you, they are opening a door within you. One that leads to a version of yourself that no longer begs for love, scrambles for money, or apologizes for wanting more. And I want to pause here and say something from the heart. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, for commenting, for subscribing to this channel. Every small action you take sends ripples through this community, through our family of eternal souls, and makes it possible to keep bringing you messages like this, crafted with reverence and truth. Now, if something inside you stirs as you listen, if your chest feels a little warmer or your hands a little lighter, that's your soul nodding. That's your spirit saying, yes, I'm ready. So go ahead, drop an angel number in the comments below. Any number that comes to your heart. It might seem simple, but it's not. That number could be the vibrational key that unlocks what's next. Because Leo, this month isn't about luck. It's about alignment. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself you silenced just to fit in. It's about walking away from what drains you, even if it once felt like home. And most of all, it's about welcoming in the kind of love, prosperity, and peace that you no longer have to earn. You've done enough. You are enough. And what the universe is preparing for you, it's nothing short of miraculous. So stay with me. Stay present. Because in the next few moments, we're going to walk through the doorways of May together. Through money, through loss, through love, and what's on the other side may just shift everything you thought you knew about what you truly deserve. When we think of abundance, most of us instinctively imagine more money, more possessions, more success. But May brings a gentle contradiction for you, Leo. Under Jupiter's expansive energy, what's being illuminated isn't just your financial sector, it's your relationship with receiving. The deeper question rising in your energy field this month isn't, how can I get more? But rather, can I allow more into my life without chasing it, without exhausting myself, without tying my worth to how hard I work for it? The stars don't reward struggle. They mirror alignment. And in this moment, you are being asked to reframe what wealth means to you. True abundance, the kind that arrives quietly and then transforms everything it touches, comes when you stop proving, stop performing, and simply choose to allow. It's a soft opening, not a battle cry. Jupiter's influence in your second house isn't promising a lottery ticket. It's offering a moment of deep permission to believe you deserve more simply because you exist. That you don't need to earn breath by breath what is already yours in the rhythm of your being. And isn't that the deepest freedom of all? To let go of the need to justify your blessings, and instead embody them with quiet confidence? The Sun, Ace of Pentacles, and the Magician appearing together in the tarot is a rare and powerful sign. It's like three rays of light intersecting into one singular path, your path. The Sun speaks to your radiance, to the way your very presence brings warmth into the room. The Ace of Pentacles whispers of new, grounded beginnings, opportunities that don't feel rushed or forced, but that fit your soul like a well-worn key. And the Magician reminds you that you already have all the tools. The stage is set. All that's left is your decision to step forward. But here's the paradox: true Leo energy doesn't demand the spotlight, it becomes the light. You were never meant to fight for visibility. You were born to shine because that is your nature. And so, the question now becomes, are you still trying to earn what is already yours? Are you still negotiating with your own worth? Sometimes, the most radical act is to receive with grace. Not with apology. Not with guilt. But with clarity. Like the quiet dignity of one who bows in acceptance, not as a servant, but as a sovereign. There's a teaching, often spoken in silence rather than scripture, that says, the moment you stop reaching is the moment things begin to arrive. Not because you've given up, but because you've remembered the truth. The tree does not chase the rain. The flower does not shout for the sun. They simply become so fully themselves that nature cannot help but respond. Leo, this is your month to become fully yourself again. To stop chasing love in the form of praise. To stop trading effort for validation. And to sit, finally, in the golden stillness of knowing, I am worthy. Not someday. Not when I hit that goal. But now. So I invite you, gently, to write that down. Not as a goal. As a statement of identity. If I received 100 million tomorrow, what would I do first to heal myself and give value to the world? Let this question dissolve old resistance. Let it stir that part of you that's known all along. You are the source, not the seeker. Choose what amplifies your light. Budget your energy as carefully as you would your money. Make decisions based not on fear of lack, but on love for your own brilliance. And remember, golden light does not beg to shine. It just shines. So do you. Grief has a curious way of returning not to hurt us, but to release us. And this month, Leo, you may find that something, or someone, you thought you had long buried rises quietly in your heart again. Not in chaos. Not to disrupt. But like a soft breeze stirring through a closed window, reminding you there are still echoes of love or sorrow that you haven't quite said goodbye to. This isn't a mistake. It's not a step backward. It's timing. Cosmic timing that knows when your soul is finally strong enough to let go, not as a loss, but as an act of liberation. You see, the strength of Leo has always been misunderstood. People often admire your outer brilliance, your leadership, your boldness. But what they don't always see is the weight you carry in silence, the love you gave without asking for return, the promises you held long after others forgot them. And so, when a memory resurfaces, or a dream brings a familiar face back into your heart, it can feel like being caught off guard. But this moment is not about being haunted. It's about being invited to release what has already served its purpose, with love, not resistance. The appearance of death in the tarot doesn't mean endings in the way we fear. It speaks of necessary transformation, the kind that only arrives when you're ready to outgrow something. The star follows death in this reading, and that is no coincidence. It's a reminder that light always follows release. That peace isn't found by clinging tighter, but by loosening your grip with tenderness and compassion. The Queen of Cups, the emotional healer of the tarot, asks you to hold your pain like water, not to contain it, but to let it flow through. If a song brings tears, let them fall. If a scent brings someone back to your memory, honor them. You are not broken for feeling these things. You are becoming more whole. In the quiet teachings of awakened presence, there is a truth that says, what we don't let go of, we carry. And what we carry, we pass on. But Leo, this is your moment to choose a different path. You don't have to carry sorrow like a badge anymore. You can bow to it, thank it, and set it down. One simple act can shift everything. Write a letter to the version of yourself who once didn't know better, or to someone who left before you had the chance to say the words you still hold. Say it all. Say it gently or fiercely or even silently. And when you're done, let the paper burn beneath a white candle's glow. Let the smoke rise not as a goodbye, but as a gesture of freedom. You are not discarding a memory. You are releasing its hold on your present. And in doing so, you are honoring both the past and the you who is ready to grow beyond it. Grief is not an enemy. It's a messenger. It arrives only when it knows you can hear it without collapsing. And the beauty is, you don't have to grieve in public, or explain your emotions to anyone. Your healing is your own, sacred and private. But it is no less powerful. In stillness, you will feel it, a soft shift, a breath of relief, a subtle realignment. That is the moment your inner sun begins to rise again. And even if you can't see them, know this, they're still with you. The ones you loved. The parts of you that loved deeply. They haven't vanished. They've just changed form. They now exist in every choice you make to love yourself more gently, to walk lighter, to trust that nothing meaningful is ever truly lost. It simply becomes part of the light that guides you home. Love, when it returns in its purest form, doesn't arrive with fireworks or grand declarations. It returns as a quiet recognition, an inner stillness, like finding a familiar book on a shelf you didn't know you needed again. For you, Leo, May holds this kind of moment. A reunion, not always with a person, but perhaps with the version of love that never demanded you shrink, never asked you to perform, and never made you feel like you had to be anything other than fully, imperfectly, gloriously yourself. That is the sacred invitation in front of you now. You've always loved fiercely, even when no one knew the depth of your heart. And perhaps because of that, you've also carried silent wounds, the kind that come from giving too much without knowing how to receive. But this month doesn't ask you to prove that you're healed or ready. It asks only that you show up with honesty. Not polished, not perfect, just present. That's how love recognizes you. That's how this next chapter begins. The appearance of the lovers, Two of Cups, and Judgment in your reading is no coincidence. This is not the surface-level connection that flickers and fades. This is the kind of bond that calls to your soul. The lovers reflects choice, not just in romance, but in whether or not you choose to open your heart again. The Two of Cups signals emotional balance, mutual respect, and a recognition that feels both new and ancient. And Judgment speaks of awakening, of seeing yourself clearly enough to accept love without shame or hesitation. There's a teaching often spoken not with words, but with presence. True connection can't be forced. It arises when both beings are ready, not to complete each other, but to walk beside one another with compassion. Sometimes, the person standing in front of you may be someone you once hurt or someone who once hurt you, not in dramatic ways, but in the quiet misalignments of timing and fear. And now, after seasons of growth, the path returns, not to repeat the past, but to finish what was once left incomplete. You may meet someone this month who doesn't match your type. Their voice may not be loud, their presence may not be grand. But something in you will pause. Your heart will know before your mind can explain. That's not fantasy, that's alignment. That's what happens when your inner life becomes so steady that only what is truly meant for you can approach. And you don't have to chase it. You don't have to fear it. Because you'll feel the difference. This kind of love doesn't make you question yourself. It makes you return to yourself. You're invited now to write a vow, not for anyone else, but for your own spirit. A soul promise that says, I will no longer hide in order to be loved. I will no longer demand love to arrive in the packaging I once thought I needed. I am ready to love, to be loved, and to meet what's meant for me with openness. Even saying those words silently can begin to shift your energy. And when you say yes to that truth, something moves. The heart becomes less guarded. The past loses its grip. And what once felt impossible, loving without fear, without control, without conditions, becomes natural. Not effortless, but real. And real is what your soul has been asking for all along. So wear the soft pinks and warm corals this month. Let your energy reflect your courage. Not the kind of courage that pushes through pain, but the kind that stays when it's easier to run. The kind that says, I am still here, and I still believe. Love doesn't always come wrapped in perfection. Sometimes it comes wrapped in healing. And Leo, that is your kind of love. Deep, warm, unwavering. Ready. There comes a moment, not marked by applause or sudden clarity, but by quiet understanding, a moment when you realize that your power no longer comes from how much you achieve or how loudly you speak, but from how deeply you've learned to listen to your own heart. For you, Leo, May is that moment. After the waves of release, after love has softened what once felt hardened, this next phase is not about doing more, but about being more rooted, more aware, more in harmony with the truth of who you are. You were never meant to live small. The essence of Leo isn't about commanding attention or controlling outcomes. It's about embodying light in a way that inspires others to find their own. And yet, that kind of leadership doesn't come from pushing. It arises naturally when you've built a deep, respectful relationship with your own inner world. That's what the planetary alignments this month are pointing you toward, a sacred return to self-mastery through stillness, not force. With the Sun opposing Pluto and Mars conjoining Uranus, a deep restructuring is underway, not on the outside, but within. These cosmic energies press on old identities and challenge the roles you performed for others. They ask, who are you when no one is watching? What remains when you let go of proving, of pleasing, of pretending? The answers don't arrive all at once. They emerge slowly, like dawn after a long night, as you begin to notice that what once drained you no longer defines you. The tarot cards, the High Priestess, Strength, and the World, are like mirrors in this process. The High Priestess invites you to pause and observe the quiet spaces inside you, to honor the wisdom that doesn't shout but waits. Strength reminds you that real power has always been the kind that doesn't need to overpower, it just is. And the World, the final card of the major arcana, signals that this isn't just a passing moment. It's a completion. A homecoming. A cycle of growth that has brought you full circle, not to where you were, but to who you've become. This phase of your journey isn't about changing who you are, it's about returning to what has always been true. In teachings passed down through silence and contemplation, it's often said that the most radiant beings are those who've learned how to hold both joy and pain with equal compassion. Not because they've mastered life, but because they've stopped resisting it. And now, Leo, you are learning how to hold your own heart this way, gently, reverently, without needing to fix what was never broken. If you feel called, begin each morning with 5 minutes of quiet. Nothing fancy. Just close your eyes and picture a soft golden light radiating from the center of your chest, expanding gently through your body. Let it fill every corner of your being, like sunlight warming a house that had been closed for too long. You don't need to force anything. Just sit with yourself. Let the light remind you that you are alive, and that your presence alone is powerful. And if your mind wanders, or old thoughts come up, that's okay. The point isn't perfection, it's presence. You can return to yourself again and again. That is the real strength, not never falling, but choosing to rise without needing applause. Say the words if they feel right. I am life. I am light. I am the embodiment of soul-born power. Let them root into your bones, not as affirmation, but as truth remembered. Because the most courageous thing you can do now is to live with softness in a world that often rewards hardness. To lead not by fear or demand, but by example, by your stillness, by your clarity, by the way you walk into a room with nothing to prove and everything to give. And when you live from that place, Leo, you don't just return to your throne. You become the throne itself. There's something incredibly powerful about realizing you no longer have anything to prove. For Leo, whose very essence is tied to radiant presence and bold expression, this realization marks a quiet but monumental shift. May is not asking you to strive harder or shine brighter in the eyes of others. Instead, it's inviting you to receive, fully, unapologetically, the life that's already reaching toward you. To receive is often more difficult than to give, especially for those who have always been the source of light for others. But this month, your growth lies in learning to trust that you are worthy of every good thing, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. To receive, you must first stop clenching. So many of us hold tension in our bodies, our breath, even our dreams. We grip the past, we brace for disappointment, we carry the weight of roles that no longer serve us. But true abundance doesn't flow into clenched fists. It arrives when you open, not in desperation but in peaceful readiness. In this season, abundance, whether in the form of money, clarity, love, or peace, doesn't come as a prize to be earned. It comes as a natural outcome of allowing yourself to align with your own truth. This is also the month to give, not from depletion, but from overflow. You've given before from a place of obligation, of fear, of trying to be enough. But now, you're being called to give from a different space. One where generosity is rooted in strength, not sacrifice. One where your yes comes from clarity, not guilt. To give love, attention, creativity, or presence without expecting something in return is not weakness. It's the action of someone who no longer fears their own worth being diminished by another's response. And then there's the final call, to live fully. To embody your own life not as a performance, but as a presence. When you release the need for external validation, something within you steadies. You begin to make choices based on what enlivens you, not what impresses others. Living fully isn't about constant movement or grandeur. It's about engaging with the moment in front of you. It's about being here, breath by breath, and letting the experience of being alive soften you instead of harden you. In the rhythm of daily life, this means caring for your energy like it's sacred. It means protecting your sleep as a foundation, not a luxury. Avoiding caffeine after mid-afternoon not as a punishment, but as a kindness to your nervous system. Drinking warm water with lemon and honey in the morning not because it's trendy, but because it reconnects you with your own vitality. Small choices with big ripples. Acts of alignment that return you to your center. Financially, this is a time to shift from reaction to vision. Rather than working simply to keep up, ask yourself, what kind of life do I want my energy to support? Let money be the vehicle for your purpose, not the distraction from it. When your values drive your decisions, prosperity follows naturally. It doesn't have to arrive all at once. But it arrives more surely when you're walking your own path. And in love, let May be the month where you let tenderness lead. To love again, without armor, without needing a guarantee, is a courageous act. But loving now doesn't mean forgetting. It means integrating. It means honoring past lessons and still choosing to remain open. This is not naivete. This is wisdom in motion. Leo, you were born to live fully, not recklessly, but intentionally. This is your moment to stop performing life and start living it. Not for them. Not even for the old version of you. But for the one who's finally come home to themselves. Leo, for far too long, you've worn strength like a shield, holding everything together, lighting the way for others even when your own flame flickered in silence. But this season, something sacred is shifting. May is not asking you to fight harder. It's inviting you to soften without losing power. To rest without feeling like you're falling behind. To stop carrying the weight of becoming, and instead, remember who you already are. You see, the universe was never testing your worth. It was waiting for the moment you would no longer negotiate with your light. For the moment you would choose to shine not because you have something to prove, but because that is simply your nature. And that moment is now. You are allowed to receive without guilt. You are allowed to pause without punishment. You are allowed to be seen without explanation. And yes, Leo, you are allowed to lead from love, not fear. So take a breath, and ask yourself gently, what have I been holding on to just to feel safe? What am I ready to release so I can finally feel free? Who would I become if I stopped dimming my radiance just to fit into places I've already outgrown? Your answers may not come right away. That's okay. Growth isn't rushed. But let this be the space where a new kind of power rises, one that's rooted in truth, not tension. One that whispers instead of roars. One that leads, not by controlling others, but by being so fully yourself that others remember how to be themselves too. You don't need a permission slip to be magnificent. You never did. You just needed to remember that your softness is strength, your heart is intelligence, and your existence is evidence of divine design. The world may not always understand your journey, but the right people, the right moments, the right opportunities will always recognize your energy when it's unfiltered, unguarded, and true. So I'll ask you now, from a place of deep respect and resonance, what would change if you no longer apologized for your joy? What would you create if you weren't afraid of being too much? What would open up in your life if you allowed yourself to live without constantly bracing for disappointment? If these questions stir something inside you, pause and honor it. That is the voice of your higher self. That is the light returning home to its source, you. And if you're feeling that energetic pull right now, I invite you to anchor it. Leave a comment below with the angel number you feel most connected to. Maybe it's 111 for new beginnings, 888 for abundance, or 333 for alignment. Whatever comes to mind first is likely the message meant for you. Your presence here is not a coincidence, it's confirmation. Confirmation that you're awakening to your truth. From my heart to yours, thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. They don't just support this channel. They amplify this collective light we're all building together at Eternal Mindfulness. You are part of something bigger now. And your energy, your healing, your courage, it matters. Stay close to your heart this month. Trust your timing. And remember, the future isn't written in fear, it's created by those who dare to live in love. You, Leo, are not here to survive the darkness. You're here to remind the world what light truly looks like.